Florida Realtors has made some changes to the as-is residential contract for sale and purchase, and we're going to review those here in this video. First, under number 9, they have added on line 140 sellers closing services and on line 154 buyers closing services, and that's going to go along with new language they've added to the contract, which we're going to take a look at on the next slide. So first you'll see they added language on line 159. It says, or other evidence of title. That could potentially be an attorney opinion of title letter. We don't typically see that, but that could be what they're referring to. And you'll see on lines 168 and 170, it talks about closing services, and it references a Florida statute. And basically this is saying that the buyer and seller will pay the closing service fees to whoever the closing agent is, whether that's the closing agent, the company, or an attorney. Next, we have where we're going to choose who is going to pay for title. So option 1 says the seller shall designate the closing agent and pay the owner's policy. And the second option is the buyer shall designate the closing agent and pay the owner's policy. They've also just made the wording more concise here. That's why you see a lot of crossouts. The important thing to remember is there's still 2 policies. The owner's policy, which is the one that's negotiable. Whoever pays for that is who picks the closing agent. And the lender's policy is always paid by the buyer. I included the Miami-Dade provision just because it looks like there's so many changes here, and just to give you a quick overview of what this is. Basically, it says the buyer will pay for the owner's and the lender's title policy, and the seller will pay for the title search, not to exceed $200 unless something else is written into that line. Under buyer default, they've taken out language here. There used to be language in the listing agreement regarding splitting the deposit between the listing and the selling broker if the buyer defaulted. That language no longer exists in the listing agreement, and so they took it out of this agreement as well. Okay, so it looks like there's a lot of changes to the addendums and riders that are available to us with this contract. When you really look at it, though, it seems like some are just repeated. I'm not really sure what all happened here, but I do want to point out FF, credit related to buyer broker compensation, and GG, seller's agreement with respect to buyer broker compensation. So if you're using any kind of agreement like that, you must come back here and check this box to go along with that agreement. Again, this is not inclusive of all of the riders and addendas that are available to us. So if you're choosing another one that is not listed here, you're going to list it under other. And we're actually going to come back and talk about this in just a moment, but I want to finish up this contract. So finally here on line 650, they took out MLS or other. They took out the reference to the MLS since offers of compensation can no longer be made under the MLS. If you go into Form Simplicity through your Stellar dashboard, and you click on blank forms, you're going to see 3 blue boxes that show up. I have a couple of others just because I have a staff view and not a realtor view. But you're going to go to the tab named Florida. And when you click on that, it's going to populate with all the riders and addendas that are available to us from Florida Realtors in Form Simplicity. If you're using App Files or SkySlope or any of those other products, they're going to have it as well. But for simplicity purposes, I'm going to suggest you go to Form Simplicity to access these. Now we have 3 contracts that are available to us through Florida Realtors: the contract for residential sale and purchase, the residential contract for sale and purchase, and the as-is residential contract for sale and purchase. When you open up that blue Florida tab, you're going to see riders and addendas that will go along with the residential contract for sale and purchase, the as-is residential, as well as the contract for residential sale and purchase. But that's not a contract we typically use, and because this video is about the residential contract, if you see anything that starts with CRSP, we call this the CRISP contract, do not do anything with those. Okay, what I would encourage you to do is for all of the others, you're going to print out what is available to you and put them in a binder. Put one side for buyers, another side for sellers, another section for miscellaneous. And that way you'll have readily available to you all of the riders and addendas that Florida Realtors offers, because they are not all listed on the contract. Again, you're going to use whatever contract your broker tells you to. The only reason I have this red X here is because we're talking about the as-is residential contract for sale and purchase, and we don't want to print any CRISP addendas or riders because they do not match the wording. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me here at the association, and of course the Florida Realtors legal hotline is always available to you as well.